Have we had enough yet? I'm Jessica Denson, and this is Lights On. If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to the Jessica Denson YouTube channel where you are watching this. Lights On is not just a show, it is a movement. I have just finished with a huge day of protesting, making good trouble in the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., with 5051 D.C., starting off the day in the morning at Congress, protesting and demanding impeachment in the halls of Congress, then spending the rest of the day with Al Green and other amazing people at the 5051 DC rally. Of course, we are dealing with all things Epstein, which has been a story that we have all known is very much there for years. We have had no doubt, to those of us who understand the character of Donald J. Trump, that he is implicated in, very, very likely implicated in the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein. And so this whole picture is converging. It has never been a more ripe time to demand that this criminal, this inhumane person who likely violated young girls in a government that is violating people and terrorizing people on a daily basis in violation of the Constitution, be removed from the seat of power in our beautiful country. I'm so grateful today that I have a guest who can break this all down with me, because I've been too busy protesting, honestly, to catch up with all of it. That guest is Lev Parnas. I'm going to bring him in just a second. We also have a second guest today who I'm really excited to have on for the first time, Keira Havens of Citizens Impeachment. She's going to bring us up to speed on all things impeachment. I'll also give you some more updates from Al Green from yesterday and share some footage from those protests. So without further ado, let me bring in my friend Lev Parnas. Lev, welcome back to Lights On.
Hey, Jessica, how are you? Thanks so
I'm
much for
doing
having
good.
me.
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing great. I see you're fighting the fight. Keep doing what
Yes.
you're doing, marching.
Yes.
It's great. Yesterday was a great day. It was the fifth anniversary of Congressman Lewis's Good Trouble
Yeah.
and his passing. And I was actually honored to be part of a panel here in Palm Beach where we
Oh,
spoke
nice.
and discussed. Also, I actually streamed it live on my Substack. We had over
Nice.
250 people there, so we caused a little good trouble yesterday, also. And
Wonderful.
and I agree with you as far as this Epstein thing. I've been talking about it loud for the past several more than several days now. It's already been a week. It
Yeah.
started off on that 4th of July weekend where they miraculously slipped that DOJ letter, and by saying that they're going to shut it down, that ignited that flame that has now turned into basically exploded, and now the butterflies are out of the box and they're not coming back in. MAGA is right now imploded from inside in, but that doesn't mean that they're going to go vote for Democrats. And that's why it's important right now that we get the proper message, that we go and attack properly to be able to get these people that are now seeing the light, seeing that Donald Trump has been lying to them, telling them all these years that, the Epstein files, that as soon as he gets into office, he's going to release him, that was the cabal that united, basically gave you the deep state, the Clintons, the Obamas, the child trafficking, the child pornography, all of that, where QAnon was born, and all of their conspiracies and everything else. So for them, people that don't know MAGA, that have never been involved with MAGA, or it's very, very difficult to understand how this, out of all the things that we're seeing, our constitution being ripped apart, our rights being taken away, him trying to implement election reform where he's trying to now change the way we could go vote and taking away our
Yeah.
rights. And this is the most important thing to them, and that's why we need to capitalize it and use it to our advantage. And one of the things I'm doing is actually on the 29th to the 30th, I'm going to be in Washington, D.C. I'm going to be actually receiving the Pillar Award for speaking truth
Wow.
to power. I'm really excited to get that. And when I'm there, I'm going to speak to Congressman Raskin and others and try to start a little coalition, because you have to understand, Jessica, and you know better than others, that a Democrat's not going to go into hardcore MAGA country, even though right now they hate Donald Trump
Yeah.
for what he's doing. They're not going to accept anything any Democrat's going to say. But people like
Right.
me, they will listen to. because I
Yeah.
was one of them. I was one of the originals, and now they feel betrayed, just like I was betrayed. Others were betrayed. They were part. So I
That's
think
why we're the strongest advocates, because we understand what it's like to be
exactly.
used. And it's really not great.
Exactly, and
Yes.
this is when it's our time, and this is where the Democratic leadership needs to stand up and understand that they can't win their old ways of doing things. It's a new era. It's not your father's Oldsmobile. Donald Trump's a different phenomenon. MAGA is a different phenomenon. This is why they need to use people like you, like me, like others that were inside, that have come out, that are speaking truth to power, to be able to go get that message and start slowly but surely getting him out of that mega cult environment and bring him over to the side. Because it's 2026, and Donald Trump's going to try to do everything he can to take away our rights to vote.
Yeah, I think we're joking ourselves if we think we can either wait till the midterms, or that the midterms are going to be legitimate, or that Donald Trump is going to peacefully leave power in 2028. I mean,
Yeah.
I like the way you framed it, because I think there's two things that need to happen right now. One, we need to seize on this narrative and not let it go. But also, we don't wait for MAGA. Like we've said a million times, I don't know how many times I've heard a conversation in the media where they're like, oh, this is going to be the breaking point. And then it's not the breaking point. We don't depend on that. Yes, we use it, but we don't wait for it. We take action while this unbelievable story is brewing and developments are happening. And you talked about Raskin, and I know he has been one that I have been specifically disappointed in, because he had been such a champion of the Constitution. He, of course, is a constitutional lawyer, a scholar, and he let us down. He let us down on January 6th with not getting his colleagues to rally around Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. He let us down by voting against Al Green's article of impeachment that he forced a vote on several weeks ago. I want to see Raskin. Now, I've heard some chatter that Raskin may possibly be forming his own articles of impeachment. When are those going to come forward, if that's true? I don't want to see it in 2026. I want to see it now. I want to see it now. We have to be able to merge these conversations, say, yes, we likely have a child sexual predator sitting in the White House. We can take any number of his crimes and start to act on them. We can't say there's too many for us to be able to focus and bring out these constitutional violations to the people and get this man out of power. We have to be able to act on them. And we're being handed literally on the silver platter the one issue, child pedophilia, that the whole right wing has been a champion against, supposedly, or at least in their platform. If we can't do that, I mean, my God, help us.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and especially right now with what this Epstein stuff is not going away. The rift is
No.
really big, and it's not just your mega influencers. It's not just the Tucker Carlsons or the Steve Bannons, or even the social media like the Laura Loomers. I mean, it's deep. I've been on a lot of these social media sites. I do a lot of these. I speak on a lot of these different platforms where there's hardcore mega over the years, and the things that I'm hearing, the things that they're talking about, the things that they're saying, you would think you were in a left-wing progressive space. The way they're discussing Donald Trump, the way they're breaking down Caroline Levitt's press conferences, and the way they're seeing through the lies. But it's interesting, they're only seeing it only when it pertains to the Epstein files. They don't see any of that when anything else. So that's why it's important to use the gift that they have given us, the gift that Donald Trump is trying to destroy, that berry, because I'm telling you, you're not going to see any files. And if you do see anything, it's going to be made up, some kind of redacted, made up type of stuff that, they're going to just try it. So, but at the end of the day, I don't think we're going to see anything.
Well, of course, I got to ask you, Lev. I mean, speaking of MAGA world, and knowing that you were in it for so long, as was I, but for a much shorter period of time, and I don't think as deep as you were, Lev. One of the things I have been able to pick up on is this letter that has been revealed that was exchanged between Trump and Epstein, this birthday letter where they're talking about all the secrets they have together. He signed his name with a pubic hair. I mean, it's really, really disgusting. But just talk to our viewers from your personal experience before we lose you today, because I know you're short on time. Does this fit with the Donald Trump that you know?
Well, it's interesting. People talk about, me and Michael Cohen also debate this all the time on one of our shows called Unleashed, that we do on Substack. But You have to understand there's different times of Donald Trump. The Donald Trump you see right now is not the same Donald Trump that was in the 80s and the 90s, not the same Donald Trump that was in the 2000s or the 2010s. He evolved through times, and things have evolved. Now, is Donald Trump a predator, sexual predator? Absolutely. That's a proven fact. I mean, he's
Yes.
convicted of it.
Yes.
We hear it in his own words, the way he talks about being able to grab women by their private parts just because of who he is, being able to walk in on young females changing rooms because he owns the Miss Universe pageant just because he could. I
Yeah.
mean, and just his whole attitude towards women in general and the way
Yeah.
he feels about it. So we
Telling
know
daytime talk show hosts that the one thing he has in common with his daughter is sex. I mean, for God's sakes, this
I
guy
mean,
is.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not even going to go to Howard Stern and the stuff he
Yeah,
talked
Howard
about.
Stern.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying to you, and this is what I write in my Substack, it's not going to be. I don't think the huge revelations there are so much about Donald Trump, because we know who he is. We know who he's already a convicted sexual predator. I mean, I don't think it's going to change our opinion. You can't think any worse of the guy that we already think of him. He is who he is. But I think he's covering up for a lot of maybe not a lot, but some very influential people, and that all has to do with transactional. And the one thing that really bothers me as a father of 7 kids is a comment, not only that they all ran on sexual pedophilia, trying to blame it, but Alina Habba, who is Donald Trump's attorney, she was his attorney. Now she is the
New Jersey.
New Jersey interim, yeah,
Unbelievable.
Jersey. But she's an attorney, so she knows what she's saying. And when Pam Bondi came out and mentioned that she has the list, and when we say list, folks, I don't want it to be a technical situation, where people say, well, a list of names, a list of clients. There's a person in prison, and there's another one that was indicted and got killed himself. That's up for debate, but there's
Yeah.
enough evidence, let's call it evidence list, of people. But here's the interesting part. Alina Habba said something as an attorney and as a prosecutor that has very, very important. She said that we are going to see soon indictments and convictions of plenty of these sexual child predators that are on this list. So it's not just about a list. She was talking about that they had information, or they have information of certain people in power that have done some very bad things. And we as a country, it doesn't matter if we're Republicans, Democrats, MAGA, independents, we're all human beings, and we all have kids. And the one thing I think we could all agree upon is that if there is some scumbag, excuse me for my language, in government or in power or in some other government or in something that had to do with something to do with hurting women or young children, and he's covering up, I think that's worse than anything else. And that's why I think that's right now why we need to keep the attention. We need to make sure that we put the pressure on, even though I don't think we're ever going to get any to the bottom of it. I don't think he's going to release. I think whatever's there is probably hidden. I think we're going to see leaks. We're going to see conversation from people like Dan Bongino. Him and Trump have, my contacts tell me, have had some serious rifts over this, because Dan Bongino made his whole career
On
podcast
this issue.
on this issue, and now he's the assistant acting attorney. I mean, FBI acting assistant FBI director,
Right.
and he's the only one that didn't stand up for this whole fiasco. Kash Patel also, you haven't heard too much, but Kash Patel is more of a diehard loyalist, so you don't hear him. But Dan Bongino was even ready to leave. He left the office, was gone for several days. Trump had to call him back. Some people say he begged him. Some people say he threatened him. Either way, he got Bongino back. And, that's just another volcano. I mean, it's all of these volcanoes, some big, some smaller, that he has all over, or minefields, like the Iran, Israel, fake peace deals, like the 50-day Russia, Ukraine, threats. I'm going to do this while Russia continues bombing Ukraine. And same thing here. It's all of these type of things that are going to explode, and some are exploding bigger. But this one, it particularly has to do with the MAGA base. And I know we have a lot more, and I'd love to come back and discuss it. I got to run.
I know you do. Thank you so much, Lev. I know you have a heart out. Just I'll remind everybody, we'll bring you back soon, and I'll come back on your show on Substack. Please go check out Lev Remembers, and his great content on Substack. Also, subscribe to him on YouTube right here at Lev Remembers. He's got a great book called Shadow Diplomacy. My friend Lev Parnas, so great to see you. I will see you again soon, okay?
Thank you, Jessica. Keep up the great work. Keep fighting for democracy.
I will. So, yeah, absolutely. Listen, I think we harp on this, but we don't let it become a Mueller report situation or some drawn out investigation. We have to, while this controversy is brewing, while the facts are being exposed, Democrats need to be very active and proactive in taking action and not waiting. That is my theme over and over again. I don't think I have a better guest to discuss the need to take action right now than my next guest, who is on the impeachment bandwagon. She is part of an organization that I think has done some of the most effective work to get citizens directly involved in lobbying members of Congress and had effects in that work. I think they are very much behind the forced votes that we've had, the original articles of impeachment that were filed by Representative Shri Tanadar. That group is Citizens Impeachment. You remember probably from Lights On, we had on several times Gabe Garbowit, who was the founder of Citizens Impeachment, along with Keira, who you're going to meet in a minute. Gabe really got Citizens Impeachment off the ground, and then he stepped back, and this wonderful woman that you're going to meet in a second, who is also a veteran, took over the reins. So we're very happy to have her here on Lights On for the first time. Keira, welcome to Lights On.
Hi, Jessica. Thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. So I'll let you just kind of take us wherever you want, right from that conversation from Epstein. How are you kind of digesting this whole picture that we're dealing with?
Yeah, well, Epstein is not new news. It's sticking
exactly.
this time, but it has been known for 20 years, and it involves very real harms across a very large segment of society. It is a massive betrayal of public safety, quite frankly, that he was allowed to operate for that long in as many contexts as he said. And, you know, it is good that it is getting the recognition as a violation of that public trust right now. But it is certainly not the only thing that is worth getting frustrated with the lack of presidential capacity that Trump has, right? Maybe it's the cherry on top, but there has been more than enough in terms of corruption and active undermining of the Constitution to warrant action immediately. And of course, as you noted, Citizens Impeachment has been around since April. We have been beating this drum that America is not served by having Donald Trump in the White House and needs to be removed as soon as possible. So that's where all of our efforts are focused at the moment.
Yeah, I love that. And I agree with you. This is not a new story. I mean, I think when stories like this come out, I think of all of the women that have come forward, not just the names we know, not just E. Jean Carroll, not just, you know, Katie Johnson, which is the Jane Doe that's being discussed a lot more these days, the underage one who filed that lawsuit that disappeared, but all of the numbers of women who came forward with credible allegations that in any other environment with a political figure, a leader, would have been catastrophic, would have ended their careers. And these women would have been given some kind of solace for the abuse and trauma that they endured at the hands of this man. I remember, I'm forgetting her name and I apologize, but a woman that came forward in Trump's first term, she was a model. She met him at a tennis tournament, I think in the 90s or something. She had an incredibly credible story of being groped and forcibly kissed by him at this tennis tournament and was absolutely traumatized. That one story alone should have been enough. I mean, the notion that we are at this point where we have a man who we know violated so many women, who has been found by a court of legitimate jurisdiction to have engaged in the equivalent of the worst act of sexual violence. And we let this man continue to hold power. I don't think these are separate from all of the issues that we're seeing carried out on a daily basis. The torture essentially that's going on, Keira, in these ICE detention camps. It's essentially concentration camps. The inhumanity is all the same theme. And it's coming from this man who has no qualms about violating other people, and an administration that has no qualms about violating people's civil rights, taking away their constitutional freedoms. The whole picture fits together. And that's why I think it's a perfect opportunity for Democrats to harness this narrative.
Oh, sure. It would be a great opportunity if they actually wanted to do that, right? And take action. The problem that we keep seeing is that there is a resistance to acknowledging that this is not business as usual. And even if it was, shame on us for allowing it to ever be business as usual. This is all completely unacceptable.
It is.
It is completely an unacceptable way to run a nation, to run a government, to treat its citizens. There is action that can be taken. I was just chatting with one of the lawyers that we converse with now and then, and he pointed out that, you know what, they could design a commission to handle this subject. They could design it to handle impeachment and take care of the articles and handle the Epstein files and make sure that they got out from underneath this sort of the control that the Republicans currently have over the chamber. There are creative ways that you can approach the power that you have as one of the most powerful people in the entire world, elected to use that power to support and defend the Constitution of the United States on behalf of your constituents. And that is not happening here, which is why we have to keep up the pressure and keep bringing people in across the nation, across every single congressional district, to really speak with one voice and say, unacceptable, this needs to change right now. Start taking action. And impeachment, of course, is the remedy. It is the constitutional remedy to remove a tyrant from office who is abusing their power. That is how we got started a while ago, right? As a country. So that's where we're standing our ground.
It's the constitutional remedy. And Keira, frankly, it is the peaceful remedy. It is the peaceful remedy. I mean, we are not surprising anyone if we talk about the possibility of civil war or violent outbreak in this country. Not for a second that we're promoting it, but that is a very, very possible likelihood. Okay, Donald Trump refused to leave office in 2021 and caused a violent insurrection on the White House. On the Capitol. He will cause violence when he refuses to leave power again. So it's really like impeachment is not a peaceful solution. It is the peaceful solution standing between us and violent outbreak on the streets of our country or in our,
or certainly the fear of it, right? And I would go a step further and I would say it is the American solution. It is what is actually written into our foundational documents as, when you have a problem with your leadership, this is the thing you do. Yeah. Nobody's taking dramatic steps. It's not out of bounds. It is the literal, actual process that the founders have put in place to handle this situation of a wannabe king or a mad king, right? Yes. I'm not sure if you saw the Axios article earlier this week where Democrats themselves leaked to Axios on condition of anonymity, which is a whole other topic we could get into, that their base is asking them to do more. Their base is asking them to, the headline said Democrats are told to get shot, right? So,
I talked about this yesterday.
I would just like to make very, very clear, we don't need y'all to get shot. We need you to do your jobs.
Yeah, exactly. We just need you to file an article. How about that? Force a vote. Ooh, dangerous, scary.
Let us actually do the jobs that you have been entrusted to do by your constituents and just follow the process that has already been laid out. It doesn't have to be that dramatic.
Exactly. No, I've this excuse that they've been using, that they have threats against their life and all of these things. And I've literally, I just don't have patience for this because, first of all, MAGA is much more bluster than anything they actually are in real life. Their numbers they do not have the majority that we have. I've been to countless protests, organizing at them, speaking at them since January. I haven't seen a single outbreak or conflict at a single one of them. The worst that it got was literally Enrique Tarrio showing up in a chicken suit in a chicken suit and failing to derail our protests in Miami. Okay, that's as bad as it's gotten, is a Proud Boy making a scene as a content creator in a chicken suit. So like there's just not an excuse for these lawmakers. And yes, of course, I understand they have security concerns. So do we as the American people have security concerns. I mean, how do you think we all feel out here living in a dictatorial takeover of the American Republic? You know, they are the ones, they have taken that position of public service, of public trust. At a minimum, they have to be able to go into that building and do their job at a minimum.
Well, yeah, the bare minimum, right, is supporting and defending the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Every single one of them signed that oath. I signed it as a veteran, as an active duty Air Force member. A lot of the people joining Citizens Impeachment bring that oath up because we did all sign it and we did all take it seriously. And we are really just expecting the people that we have granted the power to do that, supporting and defending on the political level, the same courage. And it really, for me anyway, it really does help to kind of clarify the hand-wringing about, you know, the threats and danger and all that sort of stuff in the context of courage, right? We don't allow bullies to run us out of the schoolyard, right? That is not, no one has ever solved a problem of bullying by not standing up to them. That's what's required. It's required for people in power to think of the ideals that they are serving rather than themselves. I know it's scary to take a stand, but that's what you're there to do. So that's one aspect of this whole engagement that has been infuriating, is the inability of people who have the power and have been entrusted with the power to actually do something, just refuse and just sit on their hands. And I will say the MAGA response that has propelled itself over the last, decade or so, it really depends on the cult of personality around this one single person. It's very devoted to Donald Trump. And that's part of why I think this Epstein conversation has been such a bombshell for that particular group, because I think in a very real way, that movement did trust that he was going to take the specific action of revealing the people that perpetrated this horrible crime. And it has created a massive breach in the foundation of that trust. And you know how you can really push that breach further is you can just take this person out of office and decide you're not going to let them have the power anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you're talking about, what these lawmakers need to do and to stand up to a bully. And it's not just that, but they would have enormous support behind them. Like, this is what the people want. We go over this poll. I know you know this poll very well. The latest poll that we have shows 52% of the country is in support of impeachment, including 20% of Republicans. I've started doing this thing, Keira, when I speak publicly, I will ask the crowd, is everybody here in favor of removing Donald Trump and his administration from office? And of course, it's roaring applause every time I do this. This is what the country wants. And I love what Al Green said when he came on after me yesterday. He said, some people would try to say, this isn't enough, or they want more people in the streets, which I do too. Listen, I want millions of people peacefully flooding Washington, D.C. Don't get me wrong, but this is enough. This is enough. This is enough. And any Democrat who goes out there and leads this charge, like Al Green, is going to be hailed a hero. Like, the disconnect of these Democrats that in the opposition right now, in the opposition to a fascist criminal takeover of American democracy, themselves are vastly unpopular. And need political support and fundraising and all the things that they want for their comfortable political careers. It's like, hello, champion the one thing the people want, removal.
Yeah, and I think it's a really telling point, right? That Axios article, when you read those articles as descriptions, not necessarily of actual news, but of what the party is thinking and how they want to position themselves, they become really telling. And one of the anonymous sources in that article said very plainly, these efforts they're frustrating because they just fire up the base. And that's an actual quote. They just fire up the base. So for that specific Democrat, and the choice to put that quote in this article, that tells me that the Democrats do not want their actual base to be fired up. And their actual base in relation to this poll It's 84% of Democrats want to see Donald Trump impeached, 64% strongly, 16%, I'm sorry, closer to 20% of somewhat supporting it, right? But 84% of Democrats, that is huge. That is everybody.
I know.
Plus the 20% of Republicans. And I'll say it's reaching out far, far beyond sort of, and I'll use air quotes here, but like blue areas. There was just a poll out in Eastern and Central Washington that asked the same question and found, again, a majority of support in these largely rural areas of Eastern and Central Washington. People do not like what is happening. They feel victimized by the policies of this administration, and they want to see him gone, period.
Yeah, they absolutely do. That is the want, that is the desire, and that is the need. Like anything, I'm sure you've done the same sort of studies that I have into how you deal with an authoritarian takeover of a democracy. And never is the answer, Keira, to wait, to see how things happen. You have to act now. I love what President Obama said about John Lewis. He said he knew about the fierce urgency of now. There is no luxury. We don't have the luxury of waiting. Every time that we every second that we wait is a second lost, is a second that more damage is done, is a second that more people are disappeared off the street, sent into these concentration camps, healthcare taken away from people. The list can go on and on. Damage is being done every second that people wait to take action.
This is a critical piece of the puzzle. We know, so the way our organization is set up is we have volunteers from every single district, and we ask them to communicate with the representatives, and we ask them to tell us what their representatives tell them. And I will say right up front, it's been very disappointing so far. Only about half of representatives have actually addressed the question of impeachment in a real and tangible way in their communications with constituents. So that's already off the bat not too good. But the striking thing has been the number of letters that come through saying, well, I would have voted for it, but we don't have the votes. Or, well, I would have voted for it, but we need to have the control of the House, right? That type of hedging, that assumption that in 18 months we will still have the same landscape that we do now is delusional. Everything happens so fast at this point in time, right? Even the last 10 days have just taken us on a wild roller coaster of a changing political landscape. The only time you have anything close to an idea of what you're going to be dealing with is right now. And as we talked about at the beginning of this, we don't need any more information to take action. No. This administration is entirely unconstitutional in its actions and is really striving to implement like long-term authoritarian policies. Yes. That's enough for me, and it should be enough for everybody in Congress to take action.
Yeah, it absolutely should. But you talk about the people who are behind this and not. And of course, we can go back to the vote that Al Green forced a few weeks ago. And 78 other Democrats, total of 79, including him, voted to further the article, to not table it. 128 voted to table this article. And we've seen, I mean, it's unthinkable, truly unthinkable, including figures like, as I mentioned earlier, like Raskin, like Jeffries, like Pete Aguilar, mostly the leadership, Pelosi, they all were against it. As my microphone falls over here. But some of them, we've seen some interesting progress. I talked about this before. You have Rep. Andre Carson, who is a representative from Indiana. He voted to table. The very next day, he puts out a post saying, I've had time to review these, and now I want to be a co-sponsor. And in the days since that, Representative Carson has put out an op-ed in an Indiana paper where he is a representative in the state of Indiana. He has become basically a champion of this cause. And interestingly, I actually got a chance to talk with Rep. Green about Rep. Carson yesterday privately. And he shared with me that he thinks that Rep. Carson almost maybe even didn't intend to vote against the article moving forward in the first place, and that Rep. Carson is going to be a very strong advocate for this. And
that's so exciting. Yeah,
it is. It's really exciting. So I don't know, I originally framed it as heat from this movement because I do believe that's real. I believe, when we shined a light on that vote the day that it happened. Absolutely. And you shined a light with Citizens Impeachment, and we're making this public, making people making the constituents know, and the constituents letting these representatives know how they feel, that is having a real effect. That is moving this ball forward.
Yeah, and it's the constant communication, right? The communication doesn't just end with "I want you to do this." It then goes on, and if there's no response, if there's a disconnect between the governed and the government, right? We have a number of citizens action guides. This is how you talk to a staffer to make sure that they don't kind of just slide you off and disengage from your question. This is how you write a letter to the editor, so you can publicly express your disappointment or your approval, which is equally as important in this case, as you mentioned with Carson, right? These are people that look to the public as a bellwether. We are the people that give them their jobs. And so Citizens Impeachment, Citizen Action Guides is a great way to extend that advocacy beyond just the single moment into a longer ongoing conversation about how you want your representative to listen to their constituents and protect the republic.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to pull up a flyer that you made for us that we had actually on our table yesterday. I've been putting this picture up. I was really excited. For the first time, we had a removal coalition table yesterday at the Good Trouble DC event. There's Citizens Impeachment 14th Now and 5051 DC on the poster. I was bringing it up earlier because you were saying this is not normal, and that's, you can't see it, it's kind of small, but on the right side it says this is not normal, we cannot wait. And you, of course, are a member of the Removal Coalition with a number of other wonderful organizations. You can find them all at removalcoalition.org. And there at that table, we handed out these flyers that you made for us, which directly links to your website showing who is pro and con impeachment as it stands right now, and directing people to pressure their lawmakers, call those offices of Congress. If you're available and in DC, be like me and Cliff and the folks at Flair yesterday and actually get yourselves into those offices. That's how I started off my morning yesterday, kicking off a rally at Flair at Union Station and walking over to the Capitol and literally walking into those offices. Nothing is more powerful than actually showing up in their faces peacefully, but relentlessly, as I say. But tell me I want to talk about that flyer because you have a day of action coming up. I know you're building your own specific impeachment coalition to really amplify this effort. So tell me about that.
Definitely. So our day of action is a little bit unusual this time. We started out by talking directly to the House, and that's what ended up leading to the articles of impeachment that Representative Thanedar of Michigan introduced back in April. This time we're actually going to the senators because senators are not able to initiate impeachment, but they can speak very plainly about this moment that we are in, right? They can say that it's unacceptable. They can say we need to act now. They can ask the House to send impeachment articles over. And that signal is hugely powerful. Also back in April, Senator Ossoff of Georgia, made a statement, said, you know what, this guy has exceeded every standard of previous impeachments, right? I wholly agree. And it was a huge media storm. It got it way out there into the public consciousness. Just making a clear and unequivocal statement like that is incredibly powerful. And so we last week asked every single Senate office, we went to their press team and said, can you tell us two things? Does the senator believe that the Trump administration has committed impeachable actions during his term? And then the second question was, do you want the House to bring articles to you? That was it. Very easy questions, quite frankly. Not a single office responded at all.
Oh my goodness.
And so we needed to really show up and say silence is unacceptable.
Silence is not an option, as my motto has been for years.
Absolutely. Silence is not an option. So use your voice, use that power that you have. The Senate is the chamber that is designed to reel in the excesses of the majority. A minority power or minority in the Senate has incredible power to slow down and obstruct and dictate. And they can start that work simply by saying, this is unacceptable. We need to impeach Donald Trump and remove him from power sooner rather than later.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. I talked yesterday about how many people would be giving these roaring, eloquent memorials of John Lewis in words, right?
Yeah.
Words. I don't want to hear your words. I want to see your actions. I want to see you walking in his footsteps. He had no patience for silence in moments like this. And what the hell are they doing? Yeah, the Senate has been abysmal. I know Gabe was a big champion of this, as are you. They don't use their objection to unanimous consent in ways that Tommy Tuberville did by literally holding up military appointments or military promotions for months on end. A single ignorant senator in the minority at the time, and the Democrats now in the minority could be doing that on appointments. They could be doing it on so many things. They could be refusing to give them quorum by not showing up. There's so many tools that they have.
Yeah. And they have consented, they've done unanimous consent at least 1,000 times since the beginning of the administration. And your point about quorum is well taken. You're supposed to have a quorum of senators in the chamber in order to do legislative business, but guess what they spend most of their time waiving by unanimous consent? That specific requirement. Yeah. They just skip the roll call, so nobody even has to be there while they just...
People are so freaking lazy. It's disgusting.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So don't reward their performative, stunts and calls for fundraising. For God's sakes, don't reward them.
Absolutely. I mean, and this is something that we can all get much better at is, there's a lot of words, like you said, so many words out there about what we can do and what this moment means and why it is so important to, speak up and speak out and protect. But if there's no action behind it, if you don't actually see an action being taken, you can assume that that's just empty rhetoric. It is deeply unfortunate that our Senate tracker is completely empty of statements right now. We hope to change that on the 21st.
I hope so too. Go to citizensimpeachment.com. I'm going to put up, we're doing a pre-tape today, and I don't have everything loaded in, but I'm just going to grab a screenshot real quick just to show your website so people have that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely put that pressure on. And on the 21st, tell us specifically, Keira, one more time what you need people to do right now.
Yeah, so the best thing that you can do is sign up with us. What we do is we put together personalized instructions on how to contact your representatives and now your senators with the specific ask that we are working for. It's really easy to get derailed and to kind of have the conversation go off to the side. What we found is a clear, direct, unambiguous ask is the best way to affect change. And it works better if we're all doing it at once. So on the 21st, what we're going to be doing is making phone calls because they disrupt business as usual. You can ignore one or two phone calls here or there. If all of us sit down and call all the senators for that morning, they are going to have to think about what it is that they want to say to their constituents. You can send an email afterwards. You can send a letter to the editor afterwards. We can follow up in a lot of different ways. But the name of the game here is ensuring that they recognize this is not business as usual. You cannot get business as usual done while you ignore this crucially important topic. So that's why we're coordinating everyone's effort on one single day of action at one single time, and you'll get all those instructions when you hit the join us button.
That's great. And I want to go back to, you're talking about consistency, you're talking about follow-up, about persistence, about not letting them forget and following through on all of this. And I want to go back to Rep. Tanadar, who you mentioned, because as you know, as our viewers know, Citizens Impeachment was so instrumental in getting those initial articles filed. Mm-hmm. He came on this show. He made a commitment to invoke Rule 9. He announced that he was going to invoke it. He invoked the privilege. And then, of course, the entire Democratic leadership pressured this poor man, this poor Indian immigrant from Michigan out of upholding that commitment he made to all of us. But that story is not over. I have refused to let that go. I have told Representative Tanadar in person. Mm-hmm. He has gotten it directly from me that we need him to uphold that commitment. And guess what? I have information that he is very likely moving forward with new articles of impeachment. And you better believe that I will be as loud as ever in holding Representative Tanadar to that promise to invoke Rule 9. And frankly, and so this story is not over. I think Rep Tanadar is a extremely valuable asset in our toolbox. I think he frankly has nothing to lose. I'm going to be really transparent about that. He's getting a lot of heat from his Democratic opponents in the primary and a lot of people backing those opponents. He has absolutely nothing to lose in this moment. And God knows if he follows through on that commitment to us, we are going to be a great champion of his for doing the right thing, because he's one of the very, very few that's willing to do it right now. If he
Absolutely. Does. And to be quite frank, at this point, I don't believe there's an article about Trump's corruption, specifically about the bribery and now, of course, the Epstein piece of this. This is yet another reason to pursue the removal of President Trump from office and pursue his impeachment. And so I can certainly see a new article having a big impact in the conversation about fitness for the presidency. And I hope to see that real soon.
Yeah, I absolutely do. And any House member who complains to you that it maybe that a particular article was not to his liking, you know, I heard some conversation that maybe about Al Green's for his was about this specific article that he forced a vote on was, of course, about the strike on Iran. And I've heard some people say, well, a bunch of presidents have done this. This isn't a Trump exclusive issue. Okay, you don't like that article? File your own article.
Write your
Nothing's stopping
you. Yep. Pick it up. If you want someone to do it better, that's going to be you. We've got people to really champion you, as you said, shout out your name, support you as you take that stand for the democracy. But not liking the content is not enough to stop all the action, folks. Like, go be a hero in your own name, in your own right.
Yeah, absolutely. Keira, you mentioned, and I mentioned that you come to this as a veteran. Can you just kind of like give us your like deep down in your soul motivation for being in this fight right now? I know it's not easy for you. I just want to put that out there. Keira took over Citizens Impeachment when Gabe left. It's a monumental task. They do, you know, I do what I do, traveling the country and putting on the show, and I'm a one-woman operation, and that for me is overwhelming. Keira took on a staff of close to 50 volunteers, like a daily lobbying outreach organization. Something deep down in your soul is telling you that this is what needs. Can you just kind of talk about that and maybe your perspective as a veteran too?
Oh, absolutely. I will say the team at Citizens Impeachment is incredible, and I could not do it without them. This is a massive undertaking. We are actually looking for folks to join us on staff. So if this is a thing you want to work with, hit us up, sign up on that Join Us form, and let us know that you want to volunteer. But yeah, as a veteran, like I said earlier in this show, I swore that oath to protect and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. There is literally no dispute that there is an enemy of the Constitution in the Oval Office right now. Nobody disagrees with that. Unconstitutional actions are happening every single day. The disagreement, from where I sit, appears to be around whether or not now is the right time, or if we have the specific language or something like that. And as I said earlier, that's just a failure of courage on my part, right? Integrity first, folks. You swore this oath, do the right thing. Service before self. So you don't think you're going to get reelected if you go for impeachment? That is your own problem, folks. You have a responsibility to uphold to the American people.
And such a disconnect. Like that is what would get them reelected. It's just nonsense.
It is. It's mind-blowing. And so as someone who has served and does believe that the Constitution is an essential piece of the American democracy and that we should work to preserve it, this is the thing that I am doing now and for the foreseeable future.
Well, we're very, very grateful to have you. I'm so grateful for organizations like Citizens Impeachment. I don't know, you really filled a space that is absolutely vital in the times that we're living in right now. So I'm so happy to have you in the Removal Coalition to amplify your work. I'm so proud of your volunteers, of you, of all of the citizens who have engaged in your campaigns and who are going to engage in your day of action to do this, because this is what's moving. This is what's moving the needle. This is it right here.
together, we really can make a difference, and we can reconnect the levers of government back to the governed. That is the goal of this whole process, because it doesn't stop at the impeachment of Trump. There are plenty of other folks that are working to implement unconstitutional policies that need to be addressed as well. We're starting with the figurehead, but that's not where it ends.
Okay, so I was going to let that be the last question, but since you said that, I'm going to ask you the one question that everybody asks when you talk about impeaching and removing Trump. They say, "What about JD Vance?" I have my answer. Give me yours.
So impeachment works for any government official that is not fulfilling the duties of their office, right? We can run this play again for JD Vance if we need to. I am personally of the opinion that JD Vance doesn't have the juice to make this work the same way Trump does. Right. So I am not sure that we are going to need the specific tool, but building those channels where we can effectively lobby and pressure our elected representatives to take action, and building that conduit, that gives us a lot more options for addressing corruption and unconstitutional behavior down the road.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I'll give my version, which is that if we are successful in impeaching, convicting, and removing Trump, people need to understand what an earth-shifting paradigm we will be living in, because we've been struggling, as we've been discussing with Epstein and everything on the show, to hold this man accountable for decades, and he has slipped through the cracks. So if that happens, you have to understand that whoever is left in the seat underneath him, even if it's as somebody as horrible as JD Vance with all of his connections to the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025 and everything, having lived through that earth-shifting experience, he's going to be castrated to a very significant extent. And like Keira mentioned, if he needs to be impeached and removed, he can be impeached and removed as well. And the bar, the general feeling about what is possible will be changed. Okay, there's going to be a whole different world we're living in if we impeach and remove Donald Trump. So don't rule out that when we haven't even accomplished it because you say you're not satisfied with the next step. That is the first necessary step. And then we take care of whatever else needs to happen. And I will mention that, individuals like Al Green has said that he is going to even include currently an article of impeachment for JD Vance. So that's not out of the mix even right now.
Absolutely. Yep. These are tools for us. This is our government. We can use these tools to make our government operate the way we need it to operate. I have full faith and conviction of that.
Absolutely. All right, Keira. Well, first of all, thank you for your service. And second, thank you for bringing that spirit of service and commitment to our Constitution to this fight. I'm, as I mentioned many times, so grateful to have you in it.
Thanks, Jessica. Thrilled to be here, and very, very proud to be talking with you and having your voice out in the fight too.
Oh, thank you so much. Take care. We'll see you again soon.
Bye.
So it's been quite a week. Thank you all for joining us in Washington, D.C., or around the country, wherever you were making good trouble yesterday. This is enough. This movement is enough to change this picture that we're living in, to get rid of this man who was Jeffrey Epstein's best friend, who is a criminal on so many fronts, who is a Russian asset, who is an adjudicated insurrectionist. There is more than enough support in this movement to get this man out of power right now. I wanted to share with you, as I promised, a couple of things from Representative Al Green, and also just a little footage. This was such a beautiful thing to witness after the rally yesterday, which was streamed on Lights On. Please go check it out. We had some technical difficulties in the beginning of the stream, but it's been edited now, and it's up on the Lights On YouTube channel. After the rally, there was a march through Washington, down Black Lives Matter Plaza, in front of the White House, and down to the African American History Museum. It was really, really a beautiful thing. I just want to play a few minutes of that march for you now.
What do we do? Stand up, fight back. When health care is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Small businesses are under attack. What do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Small businesses are under attack. What do we do?
Stand up, fight back. Stand up, fight back! Stand up, fight back! Stand up, fight back! Stand up, fight back!
So I love that music so much. We had this great band in the middle of the march, playing us a musical interlude the whole time. Really, really great showing in Washington, D.C. I know this was happening across the country, and so beautiful to see the footage from all over. Representative Green actually asked me specifically. He called me last night after his vote. We brought him to the rally at Franklin Park, and he had to get back to the House for a vote, and he asked me to share something with you all. He spoke out, as we mentioned last week on this show, about the ongoing horrific crimes against humanity in Gaza, in Palestine, that are being funded by this government. As I mentioned last week, every episode I think that I don't talk about this is an episode that I feel like is missing something, because we are collectively as a society just, it's unthinkable that this massacre, this annihilation, this genocide of a people is happening before our very eyes, and the world is allowing it to perpetuate. And he spoke out against this and about this yesterday at the rally, and he did not use the word genocide. And he told me in the car ride back to the Capitol afterwards that he wanted to use the word genocide, and that he had wanted to respond to people in the crowd that were asking him to use that word. And he basically went back to the House, and on the floor of the House honored that commitment and called out the genocide that is going on in Gaza. And he called me last night to let me know that, and to tell me that he was one of only 10 members of that body last night to vote against further funding to Israel, further military funding to Israel. One of only 10 members. Truly, truly unthinkable. A moral abyss, something that is, I think we can draw a through line with all of these themes, with the abuse of children, with the abuse of women, with the torture of migrants who are in concentration camps they're setting up in our country and outside of our country, the just blatant inhumanity and disregard for people's civil and human rights. There is a through line to all of this, right through to what's happening in the Middle East, in Gaza, and our tolerance for 1 second that this massacre of a people, in the name of what? In the name of what? Fighting terrorism? The Israeli government is a terrorist state. They have nothing to do with the Jewish religion. They use that as a cloak. The Israeli government is a terrorist fascist state, much like the Donald Trump administration is. They are working under the same playbook of using the construct of fighting against outside terrorist forces to cover their own crimes, to avoid their own accountability. Netanyahu was avoiding his own criminal corruption charges and trial when October 7th happened, when his administration allowed that, in spite of the intelligence they had, to prevent that massacre of their own people on October 7th by Hamas, the suffering of their own hostages. No, they put their own political preservation ahead of it. And now the horrific effects, both for the Israeli people and their hostages, and the unthinkable suffering that is going on for the people of Palestine, all to protect the criminal behavior of one man and his administration. We should have some lessons from Israel for the United States, and also never be silent about these crimes against humanity that are going on anywhere, because what affects one of us affects all of us. It's very much the lesson of the Holocaust, that if they don't come for you in the beginning, they will come for you. Eventually, nobody else will be left, and they will come for you. So we can't look away to the suffering of anyone in this world. And I'm so grateful that Representative Green saw that clarity to call this what it is, as Holocaust scholars have been doing just in recent weeks, saying this is a genocide. There is no question about this. So thank you, everybody, for not just honoring the legacy of John Lewis, the legacy of anyone who has fought for civil and human rights in word, but in action. Thank you for putting yourselves out there. Thank you for being engaged in the lobbying efforts, for being part of this movement, for claiming your power. Claiming your power. It is a truly, truly a beautiful thing to watch. I'm so grateful to be part of it with you. If you want to support my work specifically and my ability to travel and do these things, you can do it at thejessicadenson.com/donate, thejessicadenson.com/donate. I'm also, as many of you know, still engaged in a legal fight to this day against the Trump campaign over a case about human rights. So that's much appreciated. And so I'm so grateful for that. You can also find Lights On merch, which I don't have with me because I'm traveling, at thejessicadenson.com, thejessicadenson.com. Thank you all so much for being with us. As always, have a wonderful weekend and let your light shine.